Welcome back to History by Lynny, where we talk about the fashion, lives, and art of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. In this video, we will be taking a look at the portraits of Maria Portinari by Hans Memling and Hugo Van der Goes. Who was Maria Portinari? A woman whose personal life we unfortunately know not much about, but she lives on through her portraits. Maria Maddalena Baroncelli, a Florentine noblewoman, was born around 1456 in Florence. When she was 14 years old, she married Tommaso Portinari. His exact age at this time isn't quite known, but it is somewhere between 38 and 42. Tommaso came from a prominent Florentine family. However, when his father, who was the manager at one of the Medici banks, died, he was taken in by Cosimo de' Medici and raised alongside Cosimo's children. Tommaso later became an employee at the Medici Bank in Bruges, and at the age of 40 became the branch manager and later counselor to Charles the Bold. At the time of their marriage in 1470, Tommaso commissioned Hans Memling, a Netherlandish artist, this portrait of Maria as well as one of himself to form a triptych. The central image was a devotional image to the Virgin and Child, with Tommaso on the left and Maria opposite Tommaso on the right. The central image has been lost, but thanks to an inventory after the death of Tommaso in 1501, we know that it was in fact an image of the Virgin and Child at the center of the two portraits. In his will, it was described as a small, valuable panel painting with an image of Our Lady in the middle, and on the sides painted Tommaso and Monna Maria, his wife. 14-year-old Maria is shown in a three-quarter view turned to the left. While many of the wealthy and nobles during this time used portraits to show off their wealth, they chose to show it off in a more subtle manner. Shown wearing some of the top fashions and beauty trends of her time, such as the high forehead, which was most likely shaved, thin brows, and pale skin. The gown she wears is a Burgundian-style gown, which was very popular in Bruges during this time. Velvet with a white fur trim at the collar and the hem of the sleeves. The fur is a clear yet subtle sign of their wealth. On her head, she wears a solid black hennin with a veil hanging down past her shoulders. The hennin was popular amongst noble women and typically only worn by nobles. One interesting thing about her hennin is that the hennin was originally painted to have been adorned with pearls in a V pattern and with the initials T and M for Maria and Tommaso. Thanks to x-rays of the image, we're able to see the original idea of the portrait before changes were made. We can also see that it was topped with a white transparent veil instead of having the veil at the back like in the finished piece. Their reasoning for the changes of the hennin and removing the pearl details is that her portrait would appear too opulent to be next to the Virgin and Child. Maybe the combination of the pearls and her jewelry was just too much. While she does wear just one gold wedding band with two small stones, a ruby and sapphire, on her finger, the standout piece of jewelry is her necklace. The elaborate necklace is decorated with enameled flowers held together by gold wire, with the stones at the center of the flowers alternating between pearls, rubies, and sapphires, and the outer parts of the flowers with pearls. The black stones holding it all together are Burgundian onyx beads. Gems were often symbolic and not just to show wealth and power. Pearls allude to chastity, diamonds to strength and nobility, rubies to love and generosity, and sapphires to humility. The necklace was most likely a wedding gift to her from her husband, and perhaps that's why they chose to leave it in the portrait for its significance. If we take a look at this portrait of Maria, part of the Portinari triptych and altarpiece painted by Hugo Van der Goes 6 years later in 1476, we can see she is dressed in a similar manner. Burgundian gown, truncated hennin, and her opulent signature necklace. This time, however, we see her in the pearl-embellished version that we were able to see in the X-ray images of the Hans Memling portrait. Now we get a clear look at the V or triangle pattern, which holds the initials of the couple, M and T, and we can also see that the hennin not only features pearls, but a decorative gold thread embroidery as well. The veil and cornet, the black fabric along the hennin, remain the same. Only here we can see that the veil went all the way down the length of her velvet gown. Her dress in the popular Burgundian style is made of black velvet with white fur trim along the deep V of the neckline and at the end of each sleeve. At the bottom of the skirt, it changes from black to a white velvet trim. If we compare the neckline of each dress, when you look at the X-ray image of the Hans Memling portrait, you can see that originally it would have appeared to have a sheer fabric on her chest, which is no longer distinguishable, leaving her with the square neckline of her undergown and a black V on her chest. In the Hugo Van der Goes painting, she is shown with a black piece of fabric in a deep V cut. She also wears a wide white leather girdle or belt at her waist, and if you take a closer look, you can see the metal detail at the end. As you see, Maria is shown wearing the necklace Tommaso gave to her as a wedding gift, signifying how meaningful it was to the couple to include it in this holy scene. However, at one point in their life, Tommaso was forced to sell one of the jewels on her necklace to pay off debts due to bad investment and his bad management in the Medici Bank. Maria had children, and we can see them in the Portinari altarpiece. Her daughter, Margherita, who was born in 1471, is seen next to Maria, while her two sons are seen on the left panel behind her husband. Her son, Antonio, was born in 1472, and Pigello was born around 1473 or 1474. Maria did have at least one more son, Francesco, born in 1501. The triptych was also mentioned in his will when he passed away in 1544. In Francesco's will, it was described as a small tabernacle with 3 movable wings, in which is depicted the glorious Virgin Mary and the father and mother of the donor. Unfortunately, we don't know much about Maria's personal life, except that the couple did endure financial difficulties later in the marriage due to Tommaso's bad loans and eventually returned to Florence. She was alive at the time of her husband's death in 1501, and at the age of 45 served as the executor of his will. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at the details of Maria Portinari's portraits. Let me know in the comments which detail is your favorite and which work do you prefer. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it. And until next time.